are well-known Bible stories boring? And the reason I say this is, like you said, I think it is cool to tell obscure Bible stories. And like we're working on the action curriculum, and so we're trying to bring some of those out. But you can take a story like we did today, like David and Goliath, and make it, cool, or make it funny, or make it big and epic, And so a few of the things we did, and I know you guys were backstage for a lot of this, but I did come out. So last week we had one of the young boys was anointed to be king. So the theme was, the story was, Samuel coming to visit Jesse, and then we had all the sons. So we had like staff. I think it was Dawson was one of the brothers. Yeah. And then we had a bunch of boys, and they're all the wrong choice, and then finally it's David comes in. And so I can't remember if they dumped
They
water.
didn't actually dump it on him.
Oh, man. See, I remember when Adrian was a little boy and they did that. They dumped water all over him.
Back in our day of Sunday school, we did this today at the end of Sunday school. Talking about back in our day of Sunday school. And they would have just drowned you.
Well, let me say this
really quick. They would have just
quick.
taken olive oil straight to your head.
We did the story of David anointing at Youth Quest, I believe 2 years ago. And we
like 3 years ago or something. I think it was when Brother Booker first came here. Yeah.
It wasn't when he first came.
Oh, wasn't?
Because it was Miles. Miles was David. And we put yellow food coloring in the water.
Yeah.
And they dumped it on his head. Well, his head dyed yellow.
Yeah,
his whole face was yellow, dyed. And I was like,
we still have a stain on the carpet from it.
Oh my goodness. I was like, it was washable. It said washable. It was my bad. It was all over his shirt. His head was stained yellow.
Yeah, and it didn't. I scrubbed that carpet. It didn't come out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and brother Philip Booker was here, and he was Goliath.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was his first year?
No, it wasn't. No, he came during Space Theme, so that was Survival Quest, I think, or something. So
okay.
A couple years ago. Yeah.
I just remember. So shout out Miles. Sorry, Miles.
So yeah, there's an example right there, but. Anyway, so we did the anointing part last week, and then we did this week we did David and Goliath, and so a well-known story and everything. And of course, Brent was Goliath. Brent is an epic Goliath.
Brent is hilarious
because he just you never know what's going to happen. But so for dynamic opening today, the kids are coming up. So dynamic opening is something happening when the kids are getting seated. So they're coming in. And he's on the other side of the wall, and we have these backdrops up so that the kids can't see because we don't want to spoil it.
When they walk in, yeah.
Yeah, so they're getting seated, and he's like, doing the, send me a man, come fight me and stuff. Well, then he starts having a conversation because the speakers are over in the other room where they are. They're like yelling back, and he's standing by the wall listening to them. And he's like, "Oh yeah, well."
That's funny.
It's funny.
So funny.
Today it was you know that echo effect thing that you put on the mic, and it was like he was saying something. And instead of doing this big, deep belly laugh, he was like,
and it was all echoey.
They were like expecting this big, deep laugh, and it was like,
it was all high pitched. Yeah.
That was so funny.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but right after that, he realized they were putting the echo on, so he
and his voice right away snapped into a deeper voice. So funny.
Yeah, he is so funny.
Yeah, so you could take old, humdrum, so to speak, Bible stories and make them over the top, epic or like.
Yeah.
And I think you can put a different tone on them.
Yes.
Like, and make them feel different. Like,
yeah, like that, like funny or like super emotional.
Yeah.
Or super intense or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can really.
Well, so like we just did, it just worked out in the theme, but in our transition we did David and Goliath, and it was Brent again. It was when we did groups. And he was going nuts, and they were trying to do the other scene where David's talking to his brothers, and then he's getting ready to go talk to King Saul. But Goliath is still out there. He's just talking away and going on.
It's really funny.
He would keep pretending to leave, and then he would come back and be like,
Also, I think you could emphasize different points of it. Like, you could really emphasize, the actual battle and the talking between them, or you could really emphasize the talk with Saul where he's trying to get him to wear the armor and he's like, I don't need it. Or the talk with his brothers when they're telling him to go home.
Goliath's perspective.
Yeah.
So we did
That'd be cool. Like his brothers are hyping him up.
Yeah.
So
and they're watching. Oh no,
brother Kenneth Bowe wrote a blog a long time ago, and it was basically it was kind of like story format of Goliath's father, because he had brothers. Goliath had brothers. Of his father reminiscing about his sons and the deaths of his sons.
Oh wow, that was really interesting.
Wow,
I love stories like that from that like crazy
it's like
perspective that you would have never
like what
thought about.
Yeah.
So now on the flip side, I remember one time we had like a second story built for something, and we did Goliath, David and Goliath, and the actor that played Goliath, he was like, it was more like really scary. Like we went all out on his costume and everything, and then he came up there. We had like these narrow stairs that went down, so he came up at the top of the stairs, and we shined a spotlight on him, and we practiced it first, and cast a huge shadow like on the ceiling and the wall behind him.
So cool.
And then we had the music like just, like this big thundering music, and he came out. And so it wasn't funny at all. In fact, kids were scared to death. But he comes out, send me your man and I'll fight you. Cool. And, all this. I'm going to, feed him to the birds and all that stuff before, David comes out. And then he actually hurt himself. But when in the fight, he fell down the stairs and, died.
I think there's a lot to be said. I'm sure we've said this before, but there's a lot to be said for because I think it's easy to just revert to funny.
It is so easy, yes.
For that kind of heightened emotion and for it to actually be a little bit scary almost, and just because it was probably really scary.
Yeah, it sticks with you more.
Yeah, it does.
Leaves a big impression.
Yeah.
I think the actual Sunday school lesson or whatever that stuck out to me more than anything else is we did a crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And it was on Easter.
Yeah.
And it was a black light. I think I just remember it was blacked out basically, and there was a spotlight on the cross, and that was the only light. And I think there might have been strobe lights and everything. It was it was terrifying, but it was also just put it into perspective because it was a scary time. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was awful.
And I think you get used to seeing it in a more tame light or something, a more gentle light or something. A lot of things, not necessarily that story exactly. But a lot of things put into a softer light and a more funny
and you're
light.
right, when it's so easy to fall into comedy that sometimes, and we love comedy and we're not going to stop doing, funny things, but I think you do lose some things when you do comedy that it shouldn't be. That would be an example, is even if you don't have the ability or the resources to do it in an, quote unquote epic way, to do the crucifixion story probably should never be a comedy version.
Right.
And so, you do have to be careful. You could look at things well, that shouldn't be comedy either. And so I think there's I don't know, maybe there's a fuzzy line, but I do think I would like to err. We probably err on the side of comedy. And I think that most Sunday schools do.
That's why we're so funny.
Yeah.
That's why we're so funny, because we grew up in a
Sunday school.
So I think that most Sunday schools probably do, because it's an easy
kids,
thing, and the kids like it. Mm-hmm. But if we could err on the side of the dramatic, I think that it would be more effective. And you do have to be careful. There's a balance, I guess, to everything. But I do think that it can be really effective. Like when we did the Esther theme that we were just talking about.
That was more serious.
That was a lot more serious. And there was funny parts. I remember Haman and the king, when they were eating the food, we were doing a fundraiser that day, and we had real food, and they're just, Haman's just chowing down, and it was hilarious, because he's just stuffing his face. Because I think he got sick. But he's just stuffing his face with food and everything. But then I remember when Esther, and we practiced this.
When she came
into the front. And when she's going, if I perish, I perish. And so she's going up to the king, and the guard's getting ready to slash her, and the king sticks his scepter out. In fact, it was Christian was one of
And
the
he hit
guards,
his hand.
and he hit Steve's hand. He hit his thumb, and Steve just played through it.
He was like,
yeah.
"Arise!"
But it was really dramatic. We got a good video of it too. I got a video clip, but yeah. So if we can do some of that more dramatic, I think it would be
that'd be cool.
better.
More facilitators on hand because kids will be crying.
Yes. Well, and the thing here's what I was going to say about the doing the drama part is one of the reasons I think that it's so that comedy is more prevalent. And I don't want people to think we're against comedy. We like comedy and we do it.
We love it.
But I think one of the reasons why it's so prevalent in Sunday schools is it comes to prep. Because to do something dramatic or epic or however you want to say it, and to do it well, where it's not corny, is it takes preparation. You have to prep, you have to practice. Like to do a really cool fight scene usually requires at least a little bit of a run through so you can practice your blocking and stuff. And so so if you don't prep, if you're doing ad lib, then that's where the comedy is kind of probably the best route to go because it's easier and you can keep it flowing.
Yeah.
And so I think it probably comes down to prep.